Boyle Haggerty in the ring now.
Today is the heyday of the pretty boy.
Kowalski is called killer
The Flying
Block
Gene
Stanley of Chicago.
She likes it.
Oh, boy, that can hurt.
Right here at ringside while we go in for a riot of roughhouse that's flatly called wrestling.
Butcher has appeared on the scene here at Southwest Championship Wrestling. Bobby Jaggers was scheduled to wrestle somebody else, but all of a sudden Abdullah the Butcher comes out, and here he is. Good one. He always likes Bill. He has something every time he comes into the ring. Uh-oh, look out, George. Oh, look out. Referee George Stevens is out cold. That's Abdullah the Butcher after Bobby Jaggers. Bob Garcia. Now, won't be nothing there. Down goes Garcia. Abdullah the Butcher. Hits it, goes it, out he goes, onto the floor. Abdullah the Butcher right back to Bobby Jaggers. Oh! Abdullah the Butcher. Here comes Carlos Colon. Carlos Colon with a jack.
The outrageous behavior of Abdullah the Butcher in the professional wrestling arena has been his calling card for more than 3 decades. To find the roots of Abdullah the Butcher, we must travel to the most southern tip of Canada, to the city of Windsor, which is in the Canadian province of Ontario. It is here that on January the 16th, 1941, Abdullah was born and christened Larry Shreves. His father, George Russell Shreves, came from North Buxton, Ontario. His mother, Martha, came from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Martha Shreves was to bear 8 children, all of who were raised in their small 2-bedroom home in Windsor, Ontario, a house his mother still lives in to this day. This is how Martha remembers her little son, Abdullah.
He was a very cute little boy, fat, like his cousin David. They could pass for twins almost. Round face. He didn't have no hair on his head.
We lived in a wartime house on McDougall Street. It had 2 bedrooms, a front room, and it had a kitchen. So let's say we had 5 rooms, including the bathroom, whatever. And when we were kids, we used to have a couch where we used to pull out. But if we ever had company, then we had to wait till, for the company to leave because we couldn't put it on the couch. They used to have like prayer meeting or whatever, and they'd be there for so long. Like everybody be sitting like this here. Oh, I'd hope they leave. I'd hope they leave, and that was it. Well, my mother used to get up and she used to make bean soup and cornbread, and after we got done eating it, my mother would say, "You know what? My mother used to tell me the next day, it always tastes better." So that meant that we had it Monday, Tuesday. Then when it came for Thursday, we had the big pot again with, with stew. We'd have a nice day, and all of a sudden my mother would say, my mother used to say, "We know, Ma."
And I would say, "Oh yeah, it's always better the next day," and they would eat it and they enjoyed it, and it was better the next day.
During the year of Larry's birth in 1941, World War II was raging throughout Europe. At sea, devastating battles were fought. England, the London Blitz was at its height. Norway had been invaded 9 months earlier by Germany and was now occupied. They had been betrayed by one of their own, an almost insignificant member of the Norwegian government. His name was Quisling. On the home front, spirits were still high as they danced to the new Glenn Miller hit, Chattanooga Choo Choo, while Orson Welles and Citizen Kane took the movie industry by storm. Abdullah's father, George Shreves, was working at this time at the Ford Motor Plant in Windsor, helping to produce much-needed wartime vehicles. Young Abdullah was to also start his early working days at the Ford Motor Plant, but as Abdullah explains, his creative money-making schemes actually began at a very early age.
Well, they kicked me out of school when I was maybe 16 years old because I used to go, when I was a kid at 13, I used to sell papers. And I'd be standing out there on the corner, stand by the clubs, and I'd be crying. And a man would come to me and say, son, what's wrong? I said, if I don't sell these papers, I can't go home. In those days, a newspaper cost 5 cents. So he'd reach in his pocket, how many papers you got? I said, oh, I got maybe 15. He'd say, here's $1, you know, go and take them, go home, son, like that. I'd say, okay, as soon as he left, I went to the next corner, right? So one day, I was up there and I was crying, and I'm up there breaking down, and my dad, I didn't know, was walking across on the other side of the street, and he seen this white man, you know, leaning over me, you know, with his arm around me, and my dad come running over there real fast. He says, what are you doing to my son, right? And my dad, so the man looked at my dad and said, sure, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is your son, and you're telling him that he can't go home unless he sells his papers, right? My dad looked at the man and said, I apologize. And he grabbed me by the ear, he took me home. And then he told my mother what I'd done. My mother said, I know you bring all the money home and you give it to me and you're trying to help, whatever, but you can't be doing that, right? I said, Mom, if Dad don't whip me, I said, I promise I won't do it no more, right? Anyways, he whipped me anyways. 3 weeks later, I was farther out away from him where he could never see me, and I was doing the same thing.
At a young age, Abdullah was to master the arts of Taekwondo and karate.
He taught karate in his backyard. And he started some of the policemen in the backyard. He was very young then. And karate, and then he taught him, I think, judo too. He just loved that kind of work, and then he kept on going from there.
Abdullah's Taekwondo 7th degree belt was to serve him well, and when Vancouver wrestling promoter Rob Fenton took the young Abdullah under his wing, Abdullah realized his dream of fame and fortune.
Well, when I got into the wrestling business, I started making money in Vancouver. And the first time they had me on TV, the people started calling in. The ratings jumped so high, it was unbelievable. Rod Fenton came to me and says, son, in 6 years, we have never sold this building out like this. So he said to me, he says, the place is packed, and the people are just coming out like flies.
Whoa! Down goes the referee, Abdullah Butcher right there. There's a hit back.
And the promoter came to me, he said, sign here. So I signed, he handed me the cash money. I look at it, and we have on there $700 and something. So I said, oh, thank you, sir. Right? I was shaking. He said, count the money. You know, I was so nervous, you know what I mean? I've never seen this kind of money before. And all of a sudden he says, okay, he said, you keep up the good work. Then I ran to the bathroom real fast. I flushed the toilet like it was going on the style. Started taking the money out. I kept counting like that, and all of a sudden I said to myself, oh my God, so, boy.
He's tough. He's mean. Now he goes out to tuck in with something out of his wrestling boot.
One time a preacher said to me, Abdullah, why do you get the people so excited? You get them screaming and hollering and shouting. I says, well, I'm in the same line as you. He said, what do you mean? It's different. I said, you get the people screaming and jumping up and rolling on the floor and hollering and shouting so they can come back. So they can do what? Give you more.
I don't know what it is, but it is taking its toll on Big Tug Taylor. He's in trouble.
I remember my mother used to be on her hands and knees scrubbing floors for a funeral home. Those days, I think she was getting maybe $10, $12 a week or whatever it was. One day I came home. I said, where's Ma? He says, oh, she's at the funeral home working. I went over there and I says, Mom, get up. Come on. She says, come on, you're finished.
That's what he said right there. He said, "Get your things. You're through. You're not working here no more. I'm taking care of you. You're not working here no more."
My mother left, and that was 36 years ago.
A great deal of the money Abdullah has earned is due to his great success in televised wrestling events in Tokyo, Japan. Here, in a tag team match, he goes to work on Reki Steamboat.
Abdullah the Butcher. Yeah, this is a really interesting story too. I don't like too much this kind of style, but a very good character. People like this character.
Well, the first time they wanted me to go to Japan, they made me an offer, and I says, it's not enough. And I said to them, people have never seen me. I said, people have never seen nothing like me in Japan. Whoever's over there, Lou Thez or Bruno Sammartino, Hans Smith, Bobo Bazile, all these guys, Killer Cox, all of them, they have never seen me. The guy says, okay, I'll give you this amount of money, show me what you can do. When I went there, you see me on the TV, everything went sky high. When I got back to Windsor, Ontario, they asked me to come back in 2 weeks. Went back in 2 weeks. Got finished, they wanted me back. They wanted me back. I've been going to Japan 30 years.
By 1975, Abdullah's first marriage had collapsed. He then divorced his wife, with whom he had had his only son, Alan. But every adversity carries with it the seeds of a greater benefit. In Abdullah's case, was a young woman by the name of Lee.
The way I met my second wife, I used to do business with her father. At that time, she was going to college, and I've never seen her. And every time the father would take me out in the clubs in Japan, the people would always pay me for taking pictures, or they'd say Abdullah the Butcher's coming, and it was a fee that they had to pay me. And I went to the house, and here was this young lady. So the father said, come on, I want you to meet Abdullah the Butcher, crazy man from Sudan. One day we went out, and I says, you know, I like your daughter. Japanese marry Japanese, you marry your own kind. You know, I said, but you're not Japanese, you're half and half. He said to me, yes, half and half, Mary. You marry your own kind, I married this kind, I can marry this kind, right? But you, blah, 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 you stay away from my daughter, blah, 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 stuff like that. You don't come to my house no more. We only do business office. Okay.
So Abdullah's attention switched back from love to war, and Japanese fans witnessed his unforgettable battle against Hulk Hogan. Abdullah continued to give his all in the ring, but his inner thoughts were constantly centered around Lee. Soon after, the family problems were solved, and he married Lee. And Lee was to prove invaluable to Abdullah in his business ventures.
And I've been so happy. Like this restaurant here, I was driving down the street. This place was a dump. Right? It was vacant for 12 years, 12 and a half years. She said, we'll make it Chinese, and you always want to have a rib place. We'll have both Chinese and ribs and this and that. Highlight of my profession, when the people told me, tonight you're wrestling Luthez. That was in Vancouver. We sold the building out twice. And I said, oh my God, this man's gonna kill me. Because Luthez was the kind of person, he hated gimmick men. If you used a fork, Luthez was a professional wrestler. He didn't have time for gimmicks, and he hated a gimmick man. Okay? So one day, the guys are coming to me, oh, you're gonna get your ass whipped tonight, boy. Tonight is the night. And Luthez, when the show went on, Luthez snuck over to my dressing room. He says, I'm Luthez. I'm like this. Yes, sir. How are you? He says, whatever you want to do, kid. We got a packed house. Let's go out there and give him something.
There is no doubt that Abdullah the Butcher scars his opponents, but he has also suffered the same fate.
Well, the scars on my forehead, it's a long story. A lot of my scars are from the hard way. One time a promoter asked me, he said, Abdullah, we'd like to split you open. Split me open. Hard way. Going a hard way. I said, I don't care, go ahead. They used to grab me, run me into the post. And those days they used to have bolts into the post, right? The guy would take me, run me in there, and I'd go. Blood would shoot out of my head, right? But the scars is when the people say, that's the real Abdullah the Butcher. Every time I look in the mirror at myself, I say, this one made me this much money, this one made me so much money, and this one made me so much money. And this scar here is when a fan threw a chair, had a sharp edge on it, cut me open. You can see the little muscle, you know, blood is skirting out. And a fan got me here, with a razor here. I was knifed. Going through the crowd, there's about 10 or 15 police officers around me, and somebody still had got me. Another time I was wrestling, and a lady came with a long hairpin and stuck it right into my ass. I hollered, ah! But I'm gonna keep going. I'll never stop. And I can stop today or tomorrow. But it's in me. I'm used to getting up. I'm used to traveling. I'm used to going here and there. Did you ever see that, the boxing movie, Champ? When the kid was there and he was saying, he was hollering for his father, Champ, Champ, don't die on me. Or, don't quit, Champ, don't quit, right? It's something the people, for so many years you've been hearing people hollering and screaming, right? Well, when I put on my trunks, when I put on my thing, or I go to an arena, I go to a store, the people say, that's Abdullah.
Abdullah the Butcher was one of the wildest people in professional wrestling. Now, there's a business where there was a lot of big, strong, tough wrestlers that do anything to win. I remember seeing Abdullah in a tournament in San Antonio, Texas. Abdullah actually pulled a kitchen fork out of his trunks, jumped out of the ring, and stabbed his photographer who was sitting at ringside in the forehead with his fork. I was glad I wasn't shooting pictures at ringside because it would have scared the heck out of me.
Your main thing is you never forget where you came from. And a lot of people who know me, when I go to Windsor, Ontario, I always knock on their door. How are you? You understand, Mrs. Chase, or how are you? So I knock on these people's doors, not to walk in, to have a cigar and walk, oh, I'm this. No, I don't have time for that. Because a lot of people who make it, they forget where they come from. You see what I mean? And I have never forgotten. That's why I tell a lot of people says, well, you never worked a day in your life. I say, hey, my mother and my father, my brothers and sisters, we all worked together to keep the house going. I sold papers, this one done this, one worked the elevator, everybody done what they had to do.
Abdullah's career is still today as relentless as ever, but even the great cannot hide from the realities of life and death. In Abdullah's case, it was the loss of his father and the tragic death of his closest brother, Harold. These losses have brought him ever closer to church and family.
The whole key is everybody is the same. People come to me and say, oh, Abdullah, you're a celebrity, you're this, you're that. So we're all celebrities. When you talk about money, fame, it's what? A man who's a millionaire or a billionaire or whatever, they put him in the ground or they cremate you. Everybody goes to the same place. So I've never changed because I know where I come from.
I could depend on him. And he said, Ma, you can always depend on me. Don't worry about that. And if I needed anything, I'd call up to him. It's on its way, Ma. He was very good like that. Very, very good. He took care of me.
He is handcuffed. Carlos Colon to the ropes.
I'll never get out of the wrestling business. I'll probably die in the ring. I love it. I can still go, I can still move. I'll never stop. Like my mother says to me many times, when are you gonna give it up? I said, no, I can't. I go to an arena, I go to a store, the people say, that's Abdullah. What do you mean? It keeps me going, it keeps me alive. I can go in the ring and still draw the people. I can still hear the people hollering, Abdullah the Butcher, Abdullah the Butcher, right? This is the real thing. When I can't produce, then I get out. And I told my wife, if something ever happens to me, just cremate me, take my ashes. If my mother's still alive, go to my mother and father's grave and sprinkle my ashes, take them to Japan. That's the way I want to go. That's it.
Please refer to your manuals.